Hola, bienvenidos, bienvenidas a Punto de Vista, a las preguntas y respuestas del programa 6, que está compuesto por tres obras. Letters from Your Far Off Country de Suneil Sanzgiri. This Means More de Nicolas Gourault. Y This Day Won't Last de Mouaad el Salem. Por suerte tenemos aquí a los tres directores para poder tener una conversación en los próximos 45 minutos. First of all, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your films. It's been very exciting to be able to watch your films together and to start like producing a network between them and also enjoying the differences. So at first, I'd like you to introduce yourselves, and then I'll start with one or two questions that will touch upon your films. Sunil, maybe you can start.
Hi, yeah, thank you so much for having me here. My name is Suneil Sanzgiri. My film's called Letter from Your Far Off Country. And yeah, I'm thrilled to be in Punto de Vista this year.
Mouaad?
Hello, everybody. My name is Mouaad Salem. I'm 20 years old. Film name is This Day Won't Last. I'm so happy to be with you today.
Thank you. And Nicolas?
Hello, I'm Nicolas Gourault, and my film is This Means. Yeah, thank you very much, Matías, for the talk, and I'm very happy to be part of Punto de Vista.
Okay, let's start first with a very general question that touch upon all of you, that has to do if maybe you can share like a first image that made the first image of first sound that might have been the trigger for the film. Anyone can start.
I didn't
start,
understand very well your question. Sorry.
If you could share like a first step of the film, maybe like a first image that your film might have come from, or a sound. If there's anything in the beginning that we could relate to an image or a sound, like a sort of starting point of your film. If there was like a sort of image or sound that like motivates you to move forward towards the film. I don't know, Nicolas.
Yeah, maybe I can start. For me, it's kind of strange because the first image that like kind of triggered the film is one that was at the very beginning of the making, and then it disappeared and it reappeared very late. And so it's the archive that the BBC archive that we can see in the film, where you have a group of supporters from Liverpool Football Club who in the cup, which is the stand where they stay and they support the team, and they sing the Beatles. And so that this kind of black and white archive of the 60s with people from Liverpool singing the Beatles was an image I come across very early when I was doing researches. Then I completely forgot about it because I started stuff, and I was even thinking of not showing it in the film. And at some point I said, okay, I need to show it, and so it reappeared very late in the editing. So it was the first image and then the last image at the same time.
Good. Sunil, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough question. Actually, the last film that I made, At Home But Not at Home, which this film is a follow-up to, had a more clear answer for that, but this doesn't, because I filmed it all at once, and it was a very intuitive process of making where I was navigating essentially what was my first journey to India, where my family's from. So in that journey, there it was during a time of mass uprisings and unrest against this anti-Muslim Citizenship Amendment Act. And so, I guess in terms of the editing, there were some scenes that I knew that I wanted to include. For instance, the protests and the sit-ins by the Muslim women in Shaheen Bagh. I knew I wanted to include those images, but there wasn't really one particular image or sound that instigated the work. This is just something that is a continuation. It's a series of works. So this is the second in a line of work. There's a third film that I'm in production on right now, and a fourth in pre-production. So, I like the question. I think that this film is actually uniquely not suited for that.
It's good. That's an answer. That's actually a good answer. Mouaad?
Yeah. So for my film, I start working for this film before maybe 4 years ago. All that it start when I start losing my friends one because as in Tunisia, being gay, just because you are gay, you can be independent for 3 years. So in this period, too much friends, so close friends, they go to the prison just for gay, or friends who leave Tunisia to go to Europe and all. So I in this period I didn't feel so good. So I said, Iman, and I was with my cousin, we should find a way to fight for our rules. All should change it. For example, I chose to make a film to fight for my rights. There is another person who uses another stuff to this.
I don't know if we lost connection.
Oh, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I get. Okay, I'm not sure if I get very good the question. This is all. This is start just like I told you before, 4 years ago. It's my way to fight for my rights.
Good. And following that, I think that there is another strong link between the films. That is the presence and the disappearances of bodies, in a way. No, bodies in protest, bodies in dissent, bodies in tragedies. No, I feel that the films are puzzled, are intrigued, are working around an idea of body. So I guess that different, like the presence, the not presence, the body out of frame, the body numeric, no, the digitalized, the body from archives, no, putting the body. How do you? Was this like a topic of interest? Was this something that came or can inspire you? Any thought around your process? This idea of the presence or not presence and disappearance of bodies.
Yeah, I think that's a great connection. I definitely agree that there's a lot that deals with the body and the disappearance of the body, or the traces of the body. And in particular, there's one scene that I think speaks to that very clearly in my film, which is the kind of the kind of 360 camera view of what's called the Jama Masjid. It's the largest Muslim mosque in Delhi, and it's a major site of protest. It was a site where a lot of the anti-CAA protests were being held. And so basically it's kind of like what's happening is anyone who's taken a panoramic kind of photo and seen that the camera can't necessarily capture bodies moving through space when trying to create kind of all-encompassing image that's stitched together. And so this had come from Google, just a Google kind of like walkthrough or a Google 360 scene, and it really distorted these bodies, most of which were obviously Muslim, as having been dismembered and chopped and torn apart, with traces of them left. So there's these, the images fade from a recognizable part to an unrecognizable. They fade into the actual material of the image itself. And I was particularly struck by that, and I've used that kind of technique, I guess you could call it, or I guess it's more of an artifact, a digital artifact, in my previous work too. And it's really interesting to me because it speaks so much about not just questions of violence, but questions of diaspora and hybridity. And there's lots that one can connect this kind of this disconfigured body, distorted body within the kind of desktop screen with.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I actually liked very much this scene in your film, Suneil, and I believe also it relates to Mouaad film, because I like the way like the body is treated in very different way in all the three films, because in Mouaad you have like glimpses of bodies, but it's very corporeal. Like the image is like like experimental film. Like it reminds me of Mary Menken, or like like some like somatic camera really, and you see blurry people, or like just legs or hands, and this is also like a very different way not to show the body, and it helps like how you are allowed to show a body or not, and how showing a body can be a threat also to so I find it very strong. And in my film it's kind of different because it deals with architecture, so architecture is also a matter of body and how the body is dealt with, but it's always always like for at the same time. So it shapes a space for bodies, but it doesn't deal with the bodies themselves. And so I try to kind of use this technique of like showing the space rather than the body to build the aesthetic of the film, because the idea was really like how the space of a stadium is at the same time an architecture, and at the same time is inhabited by the supporters, and it becomes alive when it is with bodies in action, but at the same time the stadium is there to control their body. And in the case of the tragedy which the film talks about, it prevented the body to move, and it caused like the death of 100 people. And but my aesthetic strategy was to follow this idea of architecture visualization, where you have like you control and you don't really pay attention to the body as a single individual. The only way in my film you see the body is like through a very short excerpt of hands dealing with glasses of beer at the beginning, and also the voice. And so the voice is very important because it's the corporeal presence of the body, but you never, and you don't see it until the very last shot of the film.
Thank you. Mouaad?
So if I get very good, the question is, you are talking about using body in the film? Is that the question?
Yes.
Well, for me, in this period, I really hate body, in this period, But I said, why I hate my body? I'm just not that different. So I use it. I try to use it my body to makes me the thing like in this that after all that now I love my body. I said sorry, I can't find the word in English.
You can say it in French. Maybe you can translate.
En fait, pour moi, le corps, using my body is so important because the body is our body it's like a tableau. C'est déjà un art, quoi. Utiliser le
Like a
corps, c'est
painting.
déjà un art. Yeah. So in this period when I feel so depressed, I take just the camera and I take some pictures or some video. So for me, body is so important so important to send a message for others, you know.
Yeah. Good. And
Yeah.
following that thread, following that line, and also touching upon the idea of control that Nicolas somehow pointed out also, I'm curious to hear from the three of you about the idea of the law, no, or law and cinema in a way. I think that your films are related to law and the tension with it, no, and the need for expansion of it, the need to somehow break an expansion in a way, and something, and connected also to the idea of control. If how was this? If this image of the law, no, like with capital L, somehow put the film in tension, no, or was something that was interesting to build your film. Maybe you can start, whoever prefers.
Yeah, once again, a great connection. I think that's a great way of thinking through these three works. Yeah, so primarily the work that I was dealing with, or the film that I created, was kind of dealt with during this time of this question of citizenship, of who is a citizen and who is not. And it's primarily the work of, blatantly an ethno-fascist dictatorship in India, and the repercussions of decades of the ramifications of partition, the breakup of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, these separations, these borders, Kashmir. And so the question of citizenship begs the question of, like, what is home? What is nation? And I think that a lot of this, the question isn't just about capital L law, because it's not going to, the repeal of the Citizenship Amendment Act is not going to end the persecution of Muslims or Dalits or Kashmiris. And so really it's a struggle for freedom. It's a struggle for liberation. And I think that that's where the film really tries to draw these connections, is really through trying to understand questions of liberation, questions of diaspora, and of solidarity, in a moment when even the notion of who or what it constitutes an Indian is.
Good, thank you. Mouaad?
Yeah. The law is le loi en français, c'est ça?
Ouais.
Ok. Donc, en fait, sorry, in Tunisia, I already said that in Tunisia, just for being gay, you can be in the prison 3 or maybe 5 years in the prison just for being you. Except this, so we try to change this law. There is not just the law. There is the religion too. There is, being gay in Tunisia. you are hated by the law, you are hated by the environment, by the religion, by all, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You can change everything, but after revolution, we do revolution in Tunisia. So in this revolution, there are not just the straight people who is going in the street and said no, and they said stop all this. There is gay people too who was in the street and they tried to fight for our rights, you know. So now maybe we can change it, everything, and change the religion, but we can change the law. So we fight to change the law. We want to be in the prison for being us, you know. But
Yeah.
I born like this. I'm like this. So I think I should be in my country safe. If I'm not safe by the person, the Muslim or whatever, the law should uh, protect me. This is what thing now, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
hope that I understand very well the question and I answered
No,
it.
I think that it's very good. No, perfect. The Article 230 is still like vivid, like
Yeah, it's
no that
yeah,
because that's a very strong moment at the end of your film. The words that you put, this wish, no, that once I hope that you when you're watching this will not be on grounds, and it makes you, yeah, I
yeah.
it's
We hope,
powerful.
we hope.
Mm.
To say something about like this moment of your
But
film,
I
Mouaad,
think it's
what I found. Oh,
Ah,
sorry.
uh,
what? You
I
can talk.
said it's still too far to it's this because the situation now in Tunisia it became more and more dangerous. Just not just because the law, because the Islamists take
Mm,
the country, you know, and
mm,
it's too hard to that. It's broke my, you know.
mm. Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to say regarding this moment of like the titles at the end of your film, Mouaad, that what I found also very strong as a French person is that you say the law was enacted or like passed during the French colonial law. So it's also
Yeah.
not just it's also a matter of like French political and law issue, you know. And so I found it also strong because it's also it broadens also the issue, and as a French, we can also very much relate to what you are, like talking about. So I found that strong,
Yeah,
and for this means more like the question of law is kind of in the background all the time, but it's never like raised in the foreground. It's not explicitly addressed, but it is addressed in the way that architecture somehow is an embodiment. I don't know if we can say that, but is an embodiment of the law. So
Hmm.
the whole idea of the film that you change the architecture of a stadium to change the kind of people who go inside the stadium is also linked to the law, and so the law like shaped the architecture and prevented some people to enter the stadium. So it was always like the law is always a big issue, and when I was talking with supporters, there was a big fight around Hillsborough tragedy when I was doing the film. So there was a trial in England, and so all the people I talked to, they were witnesses in the trial, which was happening at the same time, because they were accused of being, like to have caused
Yeah.
the tragedy. And so the trial was about that, and so we were constantly talking about it, but I chose not to address it explicitly because I don't think it's I don't know, the very good place to do it in a film. It's better
Mm,
to do it in like the media or like in the court. And but it's an important question, and I chose to follow it through architecture, and I was interested in the idea that architecture is politics in itself, because it shapes the place of bodies, and it's linked to law, because the law dictates architecture. So architecture and law, for me, are connected. And for me, it's not just a matter of law with capital L, but it's a matter of like, so like the planification, the top, the gaze, the God gaze, we could say, like from the distance. And so I wanted to address this gaze, which is part of the law, but also part of.
It just stopped like the last 3 seconds.
Okay,
I don't know if you can.
Yeah, and I said, I just said I wanted to address this kind of gaze, and with the architecture and law, and to counter it in a way.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Now I keep on having like questions for the three. That maybe it's interesting to think about the tone that the films have. These films have different tones, but also they tend to mix. No, like moments that are lighter with moments that are very hard, moments of humor, moments of protest, moments of dance, the moments of distance, with moments of like relief. I wonder, how did you find the tone? I know that in each film it's different; it's not the same. But for instance, in Mouaad, I'm interested in humor. For instance, no, like the presence of tension and still like a certain idea of humor, maybe. I don't know if the word humor like translates accurately, though.
Pas très bien, mais je pense qu'il parle de humour dans le film, des trucs comme ça. Non, non.
Oui, la tension entre des moments d'essoufflement, mais aussi des moments de légèreté, moments, non, les tons, non, comment est-ce que les tons se construisent, ou que tu trouves, non, que tu as trouvé.
Understand. Well, how can I say? Wait, one moment. So we should always keep hope. That's why we should stay always, even when we are not good. We should keep our smile, and we should fight and make hopes. Is so important for me. During all this, during the film, when I press it and all, I send a vocal message for my cousin Noor, and this is how it start. I mean, when I feel so depressed, I just send her a message and I tell her, Noor, keep this message for me. I will it for the film. When I feel happy, I send her a moment that in this moment, for example, I tell her, I'm so happy. Keep this moment. All for my films. All the moment was so real. So when I feel happy, I send a message. When I feel sad, I send it just like this, and then we use all this together, And you know that even today, I never see my film in a big scale, big. I just watch my film in my phone, I never watch big. So I don't know. I just the message I want to say, just even when you are not good, just try to keep fighting and wake up morning and fight and keep your smile. Important to stay strong, to keep to just
Yeah.
that's all I think. I hope again that I answered the question. Sorry for my English.
No, it's good. It's good. Nicolas, the idea of tone. I don't know. I feel that there is a little bit of irony. I like the like how class also appears in the film. No, I think that this thing that you mentioned also about like the Beatles scene, that it's the first and the last, also has to do with something about like popular culture in a way, and so you have like the architecture, you have the digital, but then you also there's there's a comment to like the last sentence from the film. So I don't know, you can say whatever, no? But these were like what was stimulating me from your film in regard to tone also.
It's a good question, and it's a tough question also because it was hard to find the right tone, and it was a long process in editing because my main motivation was also to hear what the supporters had to say, and I thought it was a kind of a political gesture because I wanted. It's very simple, but it's like of being of them being like savages, like rude, and they don't know they are like ruled by the passion. They just like it's full passion, and so I wanted them to speak about their passion, and so it was important that they could explain, and so it has this almost didactic tone in the film, but it was done on purpose because it was important for me to just like fight the cliche of like the supporters who are just like football supporters who just live by passion. They also reflect about what they do. That's something important, and out of this very so I mean the interview were the structure, the backbone of the film, and then out of this backbone I had to find the tone, the moment of relief, and that's also when the archive and the sound of the Beatles came into place because I needed this kind of like you see something it just by the image about the time, about a certain feeling of community. All this was brought with the image, and this kind of like archive footage, or also the last shot of the film, which is much more moody in a way than the rest, or like the shot I was talking about with the hands grabbing like glasses of beers. They are very fragile, but it was also important, and I wanted to. I didn't want to show them at the beginning because they were too fragile. But then I realized the whole film was a tension between the very strong and dry aspect of architecture and CG imagery, and the fragility of the voices, of images, also of the support. Tone, I would say, in the film is was for me the matter of tone was to find a good contrast between a good strength between like the images of architecture, very dry, and a fragility that would almost be too fragile in a regular movie. But since it's juxtaposed with images of power, it becomes even stronger than the images of power. So it's an issue of editing, and it came very late stage of editing.
Good, thank you. Bien. And Sunil, maybe with you, I was thinking this idea of tone. You can take it no matter where, of course, but I was very intrigued by this this is a correspondence. It's a correspondence between people that are very intimate, but at the same time dealing with things that are like national, and transnational issues. This movement of the intimate and the transnational in a way, and how there I feel that there's a tone also, like something to be searched and found. Maybe you can develop on that or anything that like triggers your mind in regard to this tone question.
Yeah, so the correspondence is a letter that I wrote to my distant relative, Prabhakar Sanzgiri, who was he passed away in 2011, but he was a prisoners' rights kind of advocate. He was a writer. He wrote biographies of Ambedkar, the great radical caste abolitionist and founder of the Constitution. He was imprisoned during the emergency of Indira Gandhi. He was, he was an amazing kind of, and he was also, he became the party leader of the Communist Party of India, Marxist in Maharashtra. And so, find it kind of finding more about this person who shares the same, last name as me and who came from my ancestral homeland of Goa. Knowing that we are connected by blood in some ways, was a kind of a enriching experience to think through how the resonances that he would find today with the things he's fought for his whole life as a freedom fighter against during independence, and against the Portuguese in the 60s in Goa. And so I wrote this letter as I was traveling throughout India at the time, and then asked my father to read the letter, and kind of voice the narration. And then through that reading, we had a discussion about it. My father's not particularly political in that sense. Like he doesn't. It's not as immediate to him now that he lives in the United States and emigrated here and has enjoyed a very a decent life here. It's I think the politics of India are a different kind. They take on different meanings for him, and so a lot of the conversations we had were more time based, more ancestral about how our family migrated from different regions, from Kashmir, from Bengal, and just like what the mythic name of Sanzgiri means. And so kind of contrasting the mythic with the present, the kind of historic and the like longue durée with the immediate. So I think that kind of built the tone, was thinking through time, and trying to understand the present with a very a kind of a wide a very as wide of a possible lens, so to speak, and but while still paying attention to really small moments. Whether it's the colors of the tents that were at Shaheen Bagh, or whether it's certain moments of the interruption of images in these protest spaces by the technologies that tried to capture them. That there's a sense of kind of manipulating time, trying to manipulate the the technologies that would then try to encapsulate time or encapsulate space or protest. And so I think that was kind of the mood, is this navigating between these different registers of time.
Good. And now we have to wrap it up. So I have one short question that has to do with when did you find that you finished the movie? What was the moment where the movie was finished, and how this might relate to your future making? Somehow, Suneil, you have mentioned that this is part of something that will continue. Mouaad, somehow there's I wonder the reaction, the circulation of your film, the idea of the message that is carried through, the idea of the keeping fight that you have mentioned, how that will also affect your future making. And Nicolas, also this idea of when is it that it's over? Because the ending of your film is very peculiar, with the presence, this light presence of the title, that when is it that you understand that something is over, and how we continue also. So again, very broad, but you can be specific.
Okay, if I start just in terms of like technical, like for the film, I knew it would end. It's a very like a momentum, it could fall in whole possible like direction, and so it's very. I found a good momentum, and so I decided it was over, and I think it was I saw the end. I understand it was over when I saw the final shot, and actually that's when I chose to change the name of the film and to say, okay, the name of the film should be This Means More, because that's what we see in the end. And when I found the title of the film, it was over, and I put it at the beginning, and it was over. So it's like that in the edit. And in terms of what it will trigger in the future, I'm working on. I'm also part of. How to say that? I also work as a artist, visual artist, and so
Yes.
my next project will also have something to deal with like crowd control in stage, but it will be done in a different way. It will not be a film.
Okay.
A video installation. So
Okay.
it's a continuation and the same topic of like how you like power structures and how bodies and how like very strong human emotions can fit in these big structures. This kind of tension, but I will explore it in a different medium. So it's gonna be like a real-time video for now, and maybe later other films. But for now, it's just like I'm back into the more contemporary art. Let's say.
Great, thank you. Suneil or Mouaad?
The question is when I know that my film is finished, when I should. Is that the question?
Yes, this is one part of the question. The other one. So go.
Okay. For me, when I saw the first time in my life in Tunisia, I saw the people in the street fighting their rights, and they say that we exist and we are. In this moment, I said, yeah, I can. My film is ready now, because it was the time that I saw a person who is. This is I love this moment because I worked 3 years for this film, and I have too much subject. I have too much. I have more picture and more stuff. But in this moment, when I saw people in the street fighting, saying that we are here, in this moment, I said, no, Mouaad, now this is the moment that you should stop film and just show it for the world.
Good. And the future, do you have anything that will continue, or that you're like accumulating more, or what?
Yes. There is hope. Soon you will see another film for me. This film, it's how can I explain it? It's like about body shaming, because it's I will ask a person, for example, to take a picture for the part that they didn't like it. For example, if I'm talking about me, I hate my nose, for example, but I will take all this picture, and I will show it with how I can with art with beauty, for to make the person more comfortable with their bodies and more happy, and like this we will accept more our bodies.
Okay, good, great. Looking forward. Suneil?
Yeah, so in terms of when the film was finished, it went through many different drafts. Yeah, and I'm very happy with where it ended. I think it leaves people wanting more, which is not a bad thing. It has this kind of circular ending, I think, because it ends with the continuation of the poem by Aghed Ali. and it kind of ends with also like a call to, similarly to Mouaad's film, not necessarily providing information, but more of a, I hope you are able to connect with this work in ways that are, like beneficial, in the sense that, you know, how we connect to, what I was trying to say at the end is, how we connect to things like not only this film and my work, but how we connect with each other, how we connect with each other's struggles, how we connect with each other's liberations, how we connect with our ancestry, our diaspora. That's up to us. That's up to each person, and that's that there's many different ways of connecting, and that this film is my particular way of connecting with my people. But at the same time, we have to recognize struggle in everything that we see, essentially, is what I'm trying to kind of convey at the end. And so there's a third, this is the second in a line of work. The first was investigating more this kind of question of navigating diaspora at a distance, and it mostly focuses on interviews with my father, having lived through the liberation of Goa, growing up from the Portuguese Empire. It has conversations with him about his early memories of cinema and trains and time, and so it's definitely an interesting kind of branching off. And then this third film is also dealing more with the once again this kind of like longue durée of time and of colonialism and migration, particularly in Goa, and also now that the workers' movements in India have gained massive amount of power. There's connections to that within these kinds of histories of not just workers' struggle, but of the that kind of the beauty of that that labor. And so there's a third film. There might be a fourth short one. I'm also like writing treatments for a feature-length film right now, but we'll see if that ends up happening. So lots to look forward to. I'm also a visual artist, so I'm looking to expand the practice into maybe more installation-based work as well.
Well, thank you a lot to the three of you. Appreciate your time and this moment that we took to have a little conversation. And I recommend everyone watching this to go and jump to program 6 and start like creating your own connections and your own thoughts. Thank you very much. And I hope to keep on watching.
Thank you all. Great work, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.